Is the autumn budget bad for business? The Chancellor delivered her first budget on Wednesday, as you know, and with it came some pretty tough news for businesses up and down the country. Around £25 billion will be raised by employer national insurance contributions, increasing to 15%. And this is on top of the minimum wage rising by 6.7% and new employment rights. While some have hailed this as great news for employees, others have questioned if the changes will actually mean that employers will have to cut back and fewer jobs will be on offer. But what do you think about this? Are you a small business owner who feels broken or very, very worried about this news? Or do you think Rachel Reeves has raised the money from the right sector? 0207 862 2222. That is the number you need. Charlie, what do you make of this?
Well, I think business is going to be hit incredibly hard. And if you just take a business that we can all love and enjoy, I'm sure, a trip to the pub or any kind of hospitality, you've absolutely set out the arguments that there's going to be an increase in the minimum wage. We can all get behind that. But at the same time of increasing national insurance contributions by the employer, they're going to be hit there doubly. So you're going to be paying your staff wages more. You're then going to have to pay more tax, all the while cutting a penny off the pint, which nobody really asked for, let's be honest, and isn't going to really impact that many people all that much. So you're losing business, you're losing finance in the hospitality industry, you're paying employers more, and you've got to pay more tax. You're never going to see the light of day. And there'll be people and businesses, small businesses that are bearing the bedrock of our economy up and down the country, looking at the figures today, looking at where their ends meet and seeing whether they can employ someone new, whether they can take on a new young staffer, whether they can give an opportunity to someone else, whether they're going to be able to grow and invest in their own company. All of that is going to worry people, small business owners up and down the country. I think it's bad for business because they are the ones that are being taxed the most to pay for all of these things.
OK, well, we're going to talk to a small business owner in just one second. But first of all, I want to hear from Kevin. Charlie's painting a very bleak picture there for business. Do you feel the same?
Budgets are swings and roundabouts. And for instance, there's 40% business rate relief for hospitality, which will include pubs. So that's a plus. But look, it's an overall tax raising budget, most of it paid by business. There's no evidence, you're looking at the forecasts, that unemployment's going to spike. Some prices will go up. We'll see a little uptick in inflation, but there's a lot of investment there. Now, if you're a business and law and order's been sorted out, the £200 minimum for police investigating, say, shoplifting is going to go. That's going to be abolished. There'll be a cost on the police there. If you've got healthier workers, better educated workers, you'll benefit from that. The big money going into schools and hospitals, if you're a construction company, you'll benefit from that, and then the people employed there will go out and spend it. So it is swings and roundabouts. But there's no doubt that some companies, their costs, particularly on national insurance, are going to go up. I don't dispute that. But in an economy, you've got to think the bills have to be paid. If you want health, you want education, you want the criminal justice system to work properly, you want transport to be better, it all has to be paid
OK, well, let's talk to somebody at the coalface of this. I can chat to small business owner Colette Osborne. Colette, very good morning to you. I believe that this news has left you absolutely shocked. I mean, really rattled. So thank you so much for joining us at what's obviously a very difficult time. Can you tell me about the precise impact that this will make? First of all, what is your business? What do you do?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on air this morning. I actually I'm a small business owner and actually own hair salons.
Yes.
And I represent the hair and barber and beauty sector, and I'm also vice chair for the Hair and Barber Council. How will it impact us? Well, to be honest, the difficulty is I don't think anybody's really listened to what we've been warning for the last 5 years, in that already employment in our sector has plummeted to 37%. As businesses have had to actually, go and work into the gig economies due to the COVID debt, which we're still weighted down by, in order to survive. They've had stark choices. People have lost their homes, their businesses, their livelihoods. And quite frankly, there's no way our sector can absorb this cost. We already pay 42 pence of the pound tax. So for every pound that a salon takes, 42 pence of that goes directly in taxation. The difficulty is that also 50 to 60% of our cost, our labour, because obviously our trade is plied with our hands. We get no support, and this is going to devastate. Actually, we're already in panic, Vanessa, to be honest. The whole industry.
Talk to me, because Colette, you're talking lots of percentages and lots of figures. But
Sorry.
no, it's fine. But let's talk a little bit about actual business. Let's take one of your salons and let's talk about the number of people that you employ and what this might mean for you and for them, so we can kind of imagine it better. So, what sort of number of people do you have working for you in your salon at the moment?
So 27, okay, that has already reduced since COVID by about 14 due to the gig economy. This rise for my business will cost £32,000. And what that will cost is jobs.
Right.
Because we cannot absorb this. Not one business employed in our industry can absorb this cost. So in reality, employment is about to actually go. Apprentices will be no more. We cannot afford this. We have no support. So in my business, I've got to make some incredibly difficult decisions. And what that means is, it means I have to now choose. It's not a case of not taking on anybody. It's a case of what jobs can you cut? And this is the stark reality of the budget for us.
Well, I'm not surprised that you're feeling very distressed and very anxious, and I do appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much indeed. And you won't be surprised to know the calls are flooding in on this. So let's go straight to Daniel in Wiltshire. Daniel, good morning to you. Thank you for ringing. How will this have an impact on business? Oh, he's gone. He's not there. Let's talk to Adele in London then. Adele, hello there. Thanks for ringing. Do you run a business? What's going on with you?
So, no, I don't run a business. I'm actually, I've just been made redundant. I'm on universal credit.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. However, what I really wanted to understand was I'm a Conservative supporter through and through. However, this new budget with the universal credit is actually in my favour. However, what I'm seeing online is a lot of negative backlash, and I'd like to understand what that consists of and why that is. That's what I'd like to ask the panel, if that's okay.
Well, the negative backlash, well, in this instance, we're talking about the fact that employers' national insurance contributions have gone up to 15% and the minimum wage has also increased. And as you heard our salon owner saying there, that means that in real terms, she's going to have to let people go rather than growing the business and employing extra people. She won't be able to afford to keep some of the people she's already employed on her books. That's basically it, right, Kevin?
Yeah, but I think Adele's hit on something. I think those who are going to pay will shout louder than those who receive. And I think on the issue of universal credit, there's always been created this atmosphere that people who get universal credit must somehow be, fiddling the system or not working. But as you know, I think 40% of households where universal credit goes in are in work, and it's subsidising low wages, really. And if you're out of work, you'll have been paying your national insurance, and it's kind of an insurance scheme for when you're out of work, then you get support. No,
right,
so I can see it's very painful for you. And there are two sides to a budget, and you're quite right. The good things are being drowned out by the bad things.
All right, let's go to Dawn. Dawn's on the line in Hampshire. Hey, Dawn, morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
I'm all right. What is your response to this budget? How's it going to have an impact on you?
Oh, on so many levels.
Oh.
It's astonishing. So GP practices, the care industry that I work in, charity, how are they going to fund this rise in the national living wage? Farmers with the ownership of their farms where they squeak out a profit, but basically they're going to be penalised in not only running the farm but also in passing it on through the family, through inheritance tax.
Yes.
When you pay the minimum wage at £12.54, don't people realise that takes them above the limit on the tax threshold, which means anyone earning that money will be paying tax, so they're not actually 20 pence and the pound is going to come back to the government from that. So it's giving with one hand and taking with the other. And I'm honestly astonished. GP practices, they're private businesses, which I don't think anyone actually grasps, that they have got to find all this money. And
do you work in a GP practice? What do you do yourself?
I work for a charity providing care in the community for people who have had a bad life.
And do you think that charity, because it's a front page story in some of the papers, the impact on charities, do you think that the charity you work for may have to lay people off because of this?
I don't think they're going to be recruiting. I'm on a temporary contract and I've already been told that I'm now not going to be having my contract renewed at the end of November.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm very sorry to hear that. I mean, obviously, this is having an immediate impact on Dawn and many other people.
Well, exactly so. And Dawn said there that they're not going to be recruiting other people. Caroline, who you had earlier on, said it's not a case of not recruiting people; it's about laying people off because of the impact that that's having on business. And I don't think that when you hear story after story, and there'll be company after company, time after sector that is facing all of these challenges, there's got to be something that needs to be done to protect people. And this is about, before we even start talking about young people and about the future of young people, to get that first job, to get that apprenticeship, if they're not available, you can be the best educated young person in the world. You can be the most healthy person doing marathons on more than sausage rolls.
Let me speak to Karen.
If there's no jobs there, then
Karen's
it's not
in
going to work.
Dorset. Karen, hello, thanks for calling. How's this going to have an impact on you?
Well, we've got a family business and, we've had a tough time since COVID. And
what kind of a business is it? What do you do?
It's a wholesaler for the sign-making industry.
Right.
So we employ about 70 people, so it's going to have quite a significant effect. Everyone's above the minimum wage. We're, I think, a very good employer. They get private health, etc., etc. But something we'll have to give. The last couple of years have been so difficult, and what we need from government is help. Not more regulation and not more tax. Most employers are good people. They want to do the right thing by the staff. The government doesn't seem to realise that we're grown up and we'll treat our staff well and we pay our staff well. But, the NIC and the BPR is going to be a problem because we're going to have to probably put money aside for maybe a big inheritance tax bill that wasn't foreseen. So that means there'll be no more investment and people may, worst case scenario, lose their jobs.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear it. Let's go to Tina in Liverpool. Tina, morning. What about you?
Hi, my husband is part ownership in a very small business. It's like a DIY chandler's shop, which you don't really see much anymore.
No.
And Knowsley Council have just raised the rent by nearly double, and then the budget hit hard, and there's only 3 members of staff anyway, but the youngest member of staff might have to lose 2 days because we just can't afford the national insurance, the rent and everything else. It's absolutely absurd for small businesses.
Well, I appreciate the call. We're going to have to move on, but my goodness, the impact of this is being felt already, reverberating right around the country.